Church Anniversary Reflections by Brother Rothel, Farris.
Good morning, First G. My name is Rothel, Farris, and I am going to try to give you a historic perspective of my memories from our church movement from Floyd Street to Algonquin Parkway. Our original church was located on Floyd Street. It was built in 1910 by, I think it was around 9 men who decided they wanted to have a church in their community. So First Gethsemane was built, and Reverend I can't say his name. Reverend Hughes was our pastor at the time. The church was located in what was called the Bottoms. And you know, bottom is not the cream of the crop. We were very poor. It was a poor area. It was located, if you know where Manual High School is, about 2 blocks from Manual High School. And now, currently, there's the U of L Student Center that is sitting there on that property. There were a lot of shotgun houses in the community, 1, 2, 3 bedroom houses, or not 3-room houses that you could look from the front room to the back of the house, and there was no indoor plumbing, so you had an outhouse, and people were just poor, but they loved the Lord. And what I remember about the old Gethsemane on Floyd Street was that it had a balcony, and in this balcony was all the young people used to go. And we used to go up there because after Sunday school, we would go down to Mr. Frank Wright, who was a member of our church. He owned a ice cream stand and candy store, and we would go buy candy and go back up in the balcony during church and eat our candy. Of course, we had to be careful because the Three Chiefs choir was facing the balcony, and my mother was in the choir, and I sometimes got in trouble. But one of the interesting things that I remember is that my first Sunday school class was in the church basement in the restroom. I guess I was in the 2nd or 3rd grade. I don't remember what grade. I just know I do remember being in that restroom, and we didn't think anything about it, you know. Then in 1963, the church called Reverend Herschel Martin, who was actually our 3rd pastor, and he was a school principal, administrator, and one of the things that I remember most about him was he was a very jovial guy, and he laughed and cut up with you, but he always told us that we were going to college. And nobody in my family had ever been to college, so I didn't even know what college was growing up. But you know, as time went on, I think he convinced my parents, because they started talking about my sister and I going to college, and I went off to college, and the year that I graduated in 1972, I came home and the church was on Algonquin Parkway. We had moved. Urban Renewal had came through and bought up the old Gethsemane, and so the church had to move, and we ended up buying a piece of land on Algonquin Parkway and built a church. And this church cost, I think the number was like $300,000, but it's not the church that you see today. When they built this church on Algonquin, it had a sanctuary, the original sanctuary, and a basement. There were no classrooms, there was no gym, there was none of that. So we stayed there until we were able to purchase some additional land. One of the things about moving here was that we were landlocked. There was a truck terminal behind the church. On the east side of the church, there was another company, a ladder company, and then on the west side of the church, there were houses. So our church went about trying to expand and build, and I think it was like 1987, Reverend Dr. Walker asked me to be the chair of the building committee. Well, this committee went on and on and on for years. But one of the things that we did as a committee was we started looking at churches in West Louisville, because there was white flight going on, and a lot of the white churches had moved out and they were trying to sell their church, and we didn't have anywhere to go as far as to build. Our church was growing and we didn't have the classrooms, and those situations were really getting bad. And the Lord had a different motive for us. He had a different direction that he wanted us to go. I remember one day the pastor called me and said, "Brother Farris, I think the trucking company behind us is out of business. They're gone. I don't see any trucks back there or anything." And of course we called and they had gone out of business, so we ended up buying their property, and I think there was like 3.5 acres of land behind us. So we bought the property. There was a fence line up. We moved the fence line back so we would have room to expand and build our church. And so we did that. In 1994, I was chair of the building committee, and we put the new addition to our church on. We redid the sanctuary. We remodeled some of the basement. We added classrooms, a pastor study, the 2 restrooms that are in the hallways now, and that cost us $1.3 million to do that addition. And then as time went on from 1994, around 2000, the property on the west side of the church, called the McCord property, became available. And it was like a 70,000 square foot facility. And we ended up purchasing that building, and it is our CFD center now, called the Dr. T. Von Walker Center for Family Development. And that center cost us $1.2 million to put up. So it was really rewarding, being the chair of that committee, to see all of that come to fruition. And I guess one of my favorite memories is Karen, in that I was chosen to be on the pastor search committee. This would be my second time, because when Dr. Walker came, I was on that committee. So I think they chose me because I was the old guy in the church, and I had a little experience of being on the search committee. But it was, I guess, one of the most favorite times that I've had in church at First Gethsemane, as far as being part of something. The committee was awesome. Deacon Price and Donna Fox did an awesome job of leading us. I don't ever remember anyone on the committee trying to shut somebody down. Everybody's word was good. Everybody's idea was good. And it was just a harmonious committee. And we just bathed everything in prayer. And you could just see God moving in that direction. And when I think about, we had 58 applications that we went through, some very qualified people from all over the country. But God led us to Dr. Harris, and we're so appreciative of him leading him to us, and just watching him work coming in. I just can't imagine coming into a church not knowing anybody, and coming in and just taking off and learning people's names and learning the community, and at the same time, within a year, to remodel a sanctuary. I was part of that, putting this gym up, but I never in my mind envisioned us turning that gym into a sanctuary that is beautiful and state of the art as it is. So I am just thrilled to death that God led us to him and brought him to us, and I believe with all my heart that under Dr. Harris' leadership, this church is going to explode, and we're going to have a great impact on the Park Hill community. And I believe, First G, that the best is yet to come.